displays, performance, top. Shipments typically arrive in the afternoon, which leaves us only a few hours to kick things off. We start with a quick physical to make sure that what we got matches what it says on the tin, and to clean out any pre-installed garbage like McAfee or Norton. We went back and forth on this practice quite a bit, and ultimately what we decided was that it was best for us to test the hardware without it being influenced by performance-sapping bloat. And also, sometimes it would falsely identify our Markbench automation software as a virus, so. Now, in a perfect world, these are fresh from the factory, but every now and then we'll get a review sample that's been passed around. So we'll do a full system reset, then we'll write down the default power profile before changing it to the most battery economical mode, in this case, super battery. Then we chuck it into our 20-degree environmental test chamber, fully charged, and we go home to rejuvenate our mortal shells. Endurance testing typically needs to run overnight because it can take a very long time depending on the system. We use 720p YouTube video playback at a usable but fairly dim 200 nits with 100% display scaling, and we make sure to turn off any keyboard RGB for our endurance test. Hardware info is used for logging, which we found is lightweight enough to only negligibly impact our tests. Then we pull it out, dead as a doornail. Man, this Stealth 18 AI Studio is smaller than its name, especially when you factor in the Core Ultra 9 185H and RTX 4080 in here. Sheesh. Now, these sponsored MSI laptops are just for demonstration purposes for this video. We're going to be publishing our independent, non-sponsored test results at lttlabs.com. The reason we test like this isn't because we don't trust manufacturers. I mean, we don't. But not necessarily because we think they're all liars. Sometimes they are, but even the best-intentioned manufacturers rarely agree with each other on how to test their devices. And if you dig into the fine print, you'll find all kinds of interesting choices, like nigh unusable brightness levels, disabled wireless connectivity, or a battery life test where they do nothing but display a desktop background. That's why we created our own set of criteria that we feel the average person would agree represents, sure, economical, but actual real-world use of the device. We also have a second test to give you guys a range that looks at how well it'll handle a full stress situation on top of our maximum endurance test. By the way, in the future, once we get our PAM or power analysis module, we'd like to incorporate charge times as well as discharge times.
Speaking of charging, while it's getting re-energized, we determine what sort of weight class our laptop sits in. You'd think that we could do this with just specs, but without going on a 2-hour rant, we can't. So what we do is we pop it back into the out-of-box performance mode and make sure that the Windows Power mode is set to best performance for consistency's sake. After that, we run a quick 1080p Total War Warhammer 3 benchmark, which uses a good mix of CPU and GPU that we can use to determine what tests we should bother with. For example, if we're looking at a netbook that scores under 20 FPS or just straight up DNFs, we'll focus on lighter esports titles rather than wasting time on Cyberpunk. In the case of the Titan 18HX with an Intel Core i9-14900HX, 128 gigabytes of DDR5 memory and an RTX 4090 mobile GPU, we'll be looking at numbers so high we can assume that Dota 2 runs fine and move on to other things. It also lets us know something appears to be faulty. For instance, we test a laptop that we think should be somewhere in the heavyweight or middleweight tier, but ends up performing more like a featherweight, then before we do any more rigorous testing, we'll dig around and find the root cause. Sometimes they're from storefronts like AliExpress and they just plain suck. Sometimes it's old stock with dried out thermal paste, and then sometimes just a really slow laptop. Either way, it gives us a really good idea of what to expect.
Once the unit's recharged, we'll do a couple of quick battery stress tests before moving on to gaming. Max brightness refresh rate, keyboard RGB on full blast, whatever the maxed out power mode is, the Woiks. We'll hit it with Prime 95 for CPU-only devices, as well as a combustor workload for a simulated gaming load on our gaming laptops. Then comes our suite of gaming benchmarks, courtesy of Markbench. This automated system runs what we call harnesses, which are created on a per-game basis using either canned benchmarks that are built into the game or our own custom playthroughs. It gives us reliable, easily graphable data, and What's cool is it can even handle some productivity tests, like Cinebench 2024 and Puget Bench's Premiere Pro and Photoshop benchmarks. 3D Mark's storage test and UL Procyon Office productivity aren't in Markbench yet, but we are working on them. And together, all of these numbers give us a clear picture of the machine's performance, both in gaming and in general usability. This is all done with the fans running in whatever profile they're set to out of the box. And the goal here is to record the typical non-tinkerer end user experience. Now, we have observed cases where we might get a few more FPS with the cooling system cranked to 11, but what we suspect is that most people want their laptop to stay firmly planted on the table instead of taking off and hovering. Though, if the fans happen to creep up to uncomfortable levels on their own, well, hey, that's just part of the manufacturer's design. It's worth mentioning here that non-battery performance testing is currently performed out in the open in the lab, not in the environmental chamber. It's not as strictly managed, but it is still a controlled thermal environment thanks to our central HVAC system, and it sits around 21 degrees Celsius. For an example of what some of our testing data might look like, here's some runs on our Titan 18HX from MSI at 1080p, 1440p, and 2400p. Pretty impressive, thanks at least in part to MSI's Overboost Ultra, which unlocks a whopping 270 watts of total system power. And things get even more interesting if you look at CPU-only tasks like Cinebench 2024. Without the GPU sucking up valuable resources, our CPU rocketed up to 200 watts of power consumption, giving this machine very respectable numbers for a laptop chip. I mean, it's hard to quite achieve desktop performance in a portable form factor, but this shows about how close we can get. At what cost, though? Let's head back to the environmental chamber and talk about heat.
Back at the chamber, after fighting with Lucas on who gets to use it for the day, we make sure that our machine under test is plugged in for maximum performance, and then we run it through a series of stress tests with 10-minute breaks in between so it can cool off. Currently, we use a set of 15-minute thermal load tests using Cinebench for raw CPU, Furmark for raw GPU, and then both a F123 loop as well as Combustor's GL MSIO2 Physics CPU set to medium for both a real-world as well as synthetic combined load test. With that said, we are still experimenting to determine the ideal methodology here. We know that there are power viruses that can run the components hotter, but no one in their right mind is finding new prime numbers of the laptop. So leave a like if you think that the current system is good, or a comment if you think you have other ideas.
Looking at our results, modern Core i9 mobile chips can get hot, and our Titan 18HX is no exception, even with its vapor chamber cooling design. However, in modern devices that are basically designed to throttle, the more important metric to look at is sustained clock speed, which we report on a graph that looks like this. For gamers, a combined workload like our F123 loop is a better representation of how the cooling system is going to handle a typical gaming load. Now, one step that we'd love to add in the future is a set of thermal imaging shots from a FLIR camera while any device is at its peak thermal load. This would tell us whether all the heat is sailing comfortably out of the vents at the back, or whether it's being conducted through your poor delicate fingies. Give us time though. Another 2 years? Who knows? Anywho, speaking of, with all the design delays, not to mention permit delays, our full-fledged anechoic chamber is gonna be a while. So we built this quiet room as a placeholder. Now you guys know from experience that some devices can practically scream in pain as they try to stay cool. So we're gonna be using this to both test devices and speakers. And what's cool is, even in its current temporary state, it's so quiet, nobody can hear me scream. Ah!
Oh, that's not how it works, Linus. It is not how it works.
You told me I could scream in here.
Yeah, but I can hear you just fine.
Look, Gary, arc, go!
My arc!
There are still a few more things that we need to do to get our noise floor lower, but we're currently measuring about 23 decibels in this bad boy, which is low enough that we can comfortably evaluate under load acoustics for all but the quietest of devices. Our mic sits roughly 2 feet from the screen, which is about where someone would be using a laptop, and then we look at as much of the fan noise curve as we can, depending on the available operating modes. We're not going to be actually publishing numbers from here yet. This foam is just some temporary crap that we ordered from Amazon. This is garbage. We're going to be replacing it. And we have some work to do on our methodology, but we're going to make an announcement once we change out to both the finished version of this chamber and the full one. Moving on to speakers, our Stealth Studio here has a 6-speaker surround sound system that's tuned by Dyne Audio with 2 pairs of dual force-canceling woofers. That's a fancy way of saying that it should look pretty good on our testing mic. Speaking of looking good, that's why our team here wears only the best merch from lttstore.com, like these new Labs Phase hoodies.
Next up is my favorite part, display testing. For laptops, it's almost exactly the same as testing any other display. So we hook up our Stealth 18 AI Studio to the network in a darkened room like this one and launch CalMan Client 3, while another laptop, right here, runs CalMan Ultimate from Portrait Displays. We then carefully position our CR300 and CR100 colorimeters. These guys measure 10% window-sized color swatches to check for accuracy, color gamut capabilities, and brightness. By the way, you might have heard us say this display has an average Delta E 2000 of 2 or 3, or something along those lines. Well, while that's great for measuring SDR content, more and more displays are featuring proper HDR, or high dynamic range. So, we're in the middle of transitioning over to Delta E ITP to paint a better picture of what that experience looks like. Anyway, that whole conversation is well beyond the scope of this video. For now, testing is done in this office upstairs where we've hung some black duvetine and blocked the automatic light sensor with paper and tape. This is what it looks like without any of our lights turned on. Eventually, the plan is to have a full media room where we'll test displays and put some couches, a big projector for some subjective audio evaluation as well. Rome wasn't built in a day. Beyond color accuracy, gamut, and brightness, we use an LDAT as well as an OSRTT to measure response time and latency whenever supported. We take pursuit motion photos using Smooth Frog to check for ghosting or inverse ghosting for subjective analysis, and if there are local dimming zones, most common on mini LED displays or an OLED where every pixel is a dimming zone, we calculate how many there are and take a look at how much bloom they cause. Once the testing is complete, we're able to spit out indecipherable numbers like these that some of you have asked us to explain. Let's use the 4K 120Hz mini LED that's on both of our demo machines to explore brightness. Our Stealth 18 AI Studio hit around 1100 nits of peak brightness in a 10% window in gamer mode. That means that you can expect a high contrast and poppy HDR experience as dimming zones light up for flashes of light and explosions, while other zones in darker parts of the scene stay dim. The total nits value indicates how bright those spots are, with a higher value meaning a brighter image. It goes deeper than that, just like color accuracy goes deeper than smaller number better. But to learn more, you're just gonna have to stay tuned for a tech quickie. MSI also wanted us to test the ultra low profile mechanical keyboard on the Titan 18HX, but due to some setbacks, we can't quite test laptop keyboards yet.
I'm on the clock.
We can get an accurate scan, and our robot works great now. That's like 90% of the battle. But our logging software runs on a separate device. So that's great for standalone keyboards, but we still need to develop a way to set up low latency input pass-through. Rome built, etc., etc. Stay tuned.
Same goes for our EMC chamber from Raymond EMC. We expect to be able to test Wi-Fi sometime in about Q3, but with that said, Wi-Fi 6 and 6E have already been a substantial improvement over previous versions, with stable and fast connections being pretty affordable these days, and 7 is even stronger. So it's relatively safe to say that if you're buying a device with Wi-Fi 6 and above, you're probably going to be okay for typical web browsing and video call use, barring any annoying driver issues. MediaTek. Excuse me, sorry. I know this whole thing has been a long time coming, and the videos on Short Circuit might not go into enough detail for some of you, at least not yet, but that is where lttlabs.com is going to come into play. The site is up, it's getting regular content updates now, and the goal is to have every product that comes into our warehouse go through our lab for testing to determine whether it's worth your hard-earned money before it makes it any further. Massive thanks to MSI for sending over these guinea pigs and for sponsoring our efforts to keep them honest. We're gonna have all the laptops that we showed off today linked in the description down below, as well as the LTT Labs website. Go check it out and leave some feedback for our team. Now, based on MSI's usual feedback, they probably want some more screen time for their devices, so here we go. Whether you need the ultimate gaming and engineering laptop or a portable desktop replacement, MSI's Titan series devices have got you covered. A little too much power for you? Well, look no further than their Raider gaming laptops, or for something smaller that still packs a major punch, try the Stealth 18 AI Studio, complete with the latest Meteor Lake processors from Intel. You can check out all of these at the link in the video description. Thanks for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to know more about how the lab is being utilized, maybe sign up on Floatplane. We've got an hour-plus long video that goes over exactly that.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. Today I'd like to follow up on a couple of videos that I did last year about losing when advocacy for right to repair, as well as a California right to repair bill that passed. I'd like to go over how companies are going to be complying with this law, and I'd like to just give one example of a canary in the coal mine for what I imagine we can expect from many other companies. Right to repair is the concept that you should be able to fix what you own. That companies should not go out of their way to hide access to parts, documents, schematics, and so on and so forth for you to be able to fix your personal property. And whether we are talking about Samsung charging $206 for a battery for a phone that you could get on eBay for $120, or we are talking about a number of different examples I've provided on this channel, we have not really made much progress. And in the video that I did last year, I took accountability and responsibility for the fact that I really just have not gotten done what I sought out to get done. On this channel, as early as 2014, 2015, I was talking about these issues and trying to advocate for right to repair to move forward. I have done a lot of lobbying, I've shown up at legislatures, I've done my best to raise awareness on this channel, not just by talking about the issue, but also by demonstrating through thousands of videos and hundreds of repair guides how you can benefit from repair in your own personal life without ever paying me. In spite of over 10 years of this advocacy work, there's less available now than there was 10 years ago. Customers and repair shops alike are worse off now than they were 10 years ago. And while there are certain parts here and there that you may be able to get access to, for the most part, most of what it is that is necessary to be able to perform repairs that are economically viable for you, whether you are the end user of the product trying to do a do-it-yourself repair, or you are a repair shop, have just kind of dried up and gone away. And I want to talk about one particular company here that, again, I believe to be one of the canaries in the coal mine for what we can expect from most companies regarding this right to repair legislation. In my opinion, we can expect half-assed programs at best and malicious compliance at worst. And I'm going to give you an example of this with a company not like Apple, where I've had not so nice things to say over the past 10 years, but with a company that I've had good things to say about over the past 10 years. And that company is Hacko. If you take a look back at this video that I did almost 10 years ago, the tools I use and why I bought them, I am going over a lot of my Hacko equipment in the description, and I go over why it is that I paid extra money for a Hacko hot air station, extra money for a Hacko soldering station, and I suggested that anybody that was serious serious about this type of repair, consider doing the same, because while these tools may cost a little bit more money, they are quality tools that are going to allow you to do your job a little bit better than if you buy a lot of the cheap-ass junk. Not just with regards to the tool genuinely being better, but also with consistency. You could buy 100 of these stations and get 100 good stations, whereas with a lot of the cheaper stuff, you could buy 100 stations and, a lot of them are going to work very, very differently as a result of them being cheap. In most of my repair videos, and admittedly, even in the repair videos that have been done within the past year, you could see that in the video description, I am linking to a lot of Hakko equipment. A individual Hakko station, a dual Hakko station, their micro soldering pencil, their hot tweezers, their tips, because I genuinely appreciate using a lot of their particular tools. In recent times, I have done interviews where not interviews, I've done reviews, misspoke there. I've done a lot of reviews of their stations where I provided them with positive reviews for what it is that they've produced. In recent years, they have not exactly been as good with what it is they've produced. I did a video review here of one of their stations after they told me that I was doing a disservice by not going over some of their newer tools on my channel. Disservice is not exactly the wording that you want to use when you're approaching somebody with the hopes of getting a positive review for your product. I do provide honest reviews for products in this channel, and I do go over products that I believe are worth going over. Hakko's old products, worth going over. Hakko's new products, not so much. This is a hot air station that costs over $800. And as I go over in this review, this station not only has a worse interface, it's like a 1980s alarm clock where you don't just have a knob or an up or a down. You have to hold the button down and then go up and then hold the button down again, hit up or down for each digit of the temperature you want to set. But that station is actually less powerful than stations that you can buy for $200 to $300. And when you take a look over here, this station costs you over $800. Now, granted, the station that I'm selling over here, I'm not able to get access to the schematics from the damn manufacturer, which kind of makes me sad. But when you're talking about right to repair and you're talking about quality products in general, you could literally buy 4 of this station for the price of 1 Hakko. When Hakko charges approximately quadruple what it is to purchase a station from another vendor, you would kind of expect to get something better when it comes to being able to have access to schematics, diagrams, and everything else versus a station that, again, costs 1/4 the price. So let's see what it is you're able to get from Hakko. I'm going to show you the story here of one of the viewers of my channel, Ryan Labs, and I'll link his channel down below, who has been trying as hard as he can to be able to get access to some of this stuff and kind of been a thorn in their side given their stance on this particular legislation. So here, he tried to get Hakko to provide some documents, parts, such like that, and Hakko says, as I mentioned over the phone, I personally do not find your request unreasonable. However, I am limited with only that which Hakko in Japan will provide us. So this individual is really trying to help this customer, but Hakko does not really want to help as much. So he has provided information on what Tormach and Miller has done, and he is trying to use that to present to Hakko that they should make some of this stuff available. As you can see here, he says that he is making progress. He believes the CEO is on board, but will still have a hurdle for the parent company in Japan. Now, note that I've been in contact with 2 major competitors where we have their equipment from 2014 and no schematics available. Only one provided a service manual. We may well be in the lead on this issue, but the hurdle is the sound argument that schematics are not considered trade secrets or otherwise protected. I need legal precedent that shows it as a losing argument, and he's kind of going on to discuss how everything's working there. Over here, this is almost 1 year later, and he says corporate headquarters is still working on putting together repair manuals that can be used. We will be opening a second on our online knowledge base at kb.hackousa.com, where you can make the request to access self-service repair information. And then he says there is one point for clarification we are checking regarding the definition of consumer products, where the vast majority of our products are outside of that definition. We have traditionally been a supplier of quality tools for the electronics industry. Keyword being industry. AKA, you're paying 4 times as much for a Hakko tool that is inferior to the tools that you can get for about $220, and you don't get access to same shit that they don't give you access to. And again, this really goes back to what I was talking about in the video that I did saying reflections on losing 15 years in professional repair, where many companies will try to find a way to end run this particular piece of legislation. And when you take a look at one of the emails that was sent back and forth that I'm pretty damn sure was not supposed to go to him, you see the idea here. So this is the quiet part out loud. I do not believe that the representative at Hakko intended to send Ryan Labs this email, but we're going to read it because I think it is very telling. Thank you. I was expecting him to be the first request out of the gate today, and the information we have provided is on our website. Once he registers for this, it will be made available. Note that schematic diagrams are not required to effect repairs, so we will be providing more comprehensive documentation prepared by Hakko Japan for customer use. Unfortunately, Hakko Japan has not prepared the manual for the FX951, FM204, and FM205 that were part of his request. I have passed the request to Hakko Japan to fulfill. His request for the FM202 is out of scope, as the unit was discontinued back in 2007, and the repair we made in 2021 was using discontinued inventory. Also, Hakko Japan has interpreted the Business and Professional Code as California as a possible exclusion for our products, which are industrial tools. For many decades, it has always been communicated that Hakko provides superior quality tools for the electronics industry. And I would expect him to pursue this further, and I'm afraid Hakko Japan will be pressed to provide more information at a faster rate. They're going to try to get around this, as most companies are going to try to get around this. As you see over here, they are going back and forth, and this is again continuing about 1 year later. I am forwarding you this email that Chris sent just a few minutes ago, right around the time we're speaking, and over here you can see that they finally added a right to repair and repair manual access to their website, which is cool. It seems like this is progress. Like finally we're getting something done. And you can see over here that Hakko added a statement to the website, which is pretty cool. Right to repair and repair manual access. July 1st. You may notice that I'm reading a PDF rather than accessing this page on the website. We're going to get around to why that is soon. Embracing the right to repair for our customers. American Hakko believes strongly in providing quality tools for the electronics industry. That industry has grown over the years to cover a wide gamut of customers, including large industrial and commercial customers, government and military agencies, and consumers with a wide range of skills covering a broad market of products and arts. American Hakko has, for many decades, supported Hakko and CHP brand products with arguably the most customer-favorable repair policy, with a flat labor rate of $10 per unit for any requested repair, regardless of the time needed to diagnose and make any repair, plus the cost of parts. American Hakko has also led efforts to continue the development of the next generation of our products to leverage the investment made by our customers and maintain the expectations of durability, longevity, and serviceability that the Hakko and CHP marks have come to represent in the 21st century. American Hakko supports the right to repair for our customers. We believe that customers should have the option to repair their products themselves, have knowledgeable and skilled individuals or service companies perform those repairs, or choose to send their products to us for a fair and reasonable service experience. To enable customers, as well as independent repair providers, to repair our Hakko and CHP brand products, American Hakko is committed to making available to them parts and repair manuals used by our own technicians to make repairs. All such parts and repair manuals will be available to our customers and independent repair providers in terms that are fair and reasonable, using the vocabulary from the bill. All such parts and repair manuals will be made available to our customers and independent repair providers. Okay, I just already read that. My brain is broken there. There are no specialized or custom tools needed to service our products, which I appreciate. Repair manuals shall include information regarding repair parts, tools to use, tests to be made to confirm performance, diagrams of assembly, needed post-repair inspections, and wiring diagrams. While there is embedded software, the software will be made available for download on the site, along with software and instructions on how to load and/or update the software. If the embedded software cannot be reasonably loaded and/or updated, American Hakko will provide full replacement boards under fair and reasonable terms. There are no special service codes or reporting output by our products, and all error codes are already listed in the standard user manual. American Hakko believes that when our customers have the option to repair or have repaired their Hakko and CHP products, it supports the sustainability of our products rather than having them discarded, and thereby promotes a renewable economy, reducing electronic waste and minimizing the environmental impact of our products. American Hakko strives to put a smile on our customers' faces, and we only want a positive relationship with our customers. We believe that by making these resources available, we are demonstrating our commitment to the quality of our products and our dedication to our customers, their satisfaction, and ultimately to their loyalty to the Hakko and CHP brands. American Hakko recognizes that repairing our products is often the most cost-effective than purchasing a new product. When we produce products, we anticipate that repair parts will be needed over an estimated 7-year product life. This anticipated 7-year product life allows us to provide you with our most customer-favorable repair services, which in turn allows our customers to extend the useful life of their products while saving money. While we transition into this new era, rest assured that our newest generation of products will embrace the right to repair of our customers. At the same time, we will continue to develop resources to support our older generation products to do our best to extend their service lives. In the event that self-service and/or independent repair resources are limited, American Hakko will work with you on a case-by-case basis to provide a fair and reasonable solution to our service needs, your service needs, or replace your product on fair and reasonable terms. Your satisfaction as our customers and maintaining your loyalty to the Hakko and CHP brands are what we value most at American Hakko. To register for the access to repair manuals information, please send an email request to tech support at Hakko USA along with the model number and serial number of your products so that we may provide you access. And to be 100% clear here, and fair to Hacko, I genuinely believe that Chris Stuber believes in this. He is simply hamstrung by the policies at his company. We all have bosses, and we all have to deal with disagreeing with our boss. For example, the work that I do at Futo, I believe I can do great work at Futo. I can get projects like Image funded millions of dollars. I can send $200,000 to create open source wheelchairs. I got $1 million to advocate for right to repair. A lot of the work that I do there is awesome. At the end of the day, I am an employee, and when I push for changes regarding things like a license, it may take a little longer than I want for some of those changes to get done. I do believe that Chris is a well-intentioned employee at this company that believes in right to repair, is simply caught between the rock and the hard place, similar to where I was when it came to licensing issues at the company that I work for. As you can see here, Ryan Labs then seeks access to repair documents for third-party service of Hacko products, and he offers some products that are really not that old, in my opinion. You see a lot of repair shops with these on their bench. And he gets access to this. It says over here, please register for an account online at kb.hackousa.com so we may activate your access. So over here you can see in the knowledge base it says right to repair and repair manual access, which we just read. And as time goes on, thank you, your account has been added to the repair manual section of the knowledge base sent to Ryan Labs. When he goes to the repair manual section of the knowledge base, and as you can see here, he has something very similar available to him as what I get when I ask Texas Instruments for a CD3217, or I knock on Ingersoll's door looking for an ISL 9240, or ask Apple for a schematic so that I can provide repair and data recovery to their products, which is bupkis. No results found. 0 repair manuals. As you can see here, he emails back, apologies for the inconvenience, please check again to confirm the repair manuals are visible on your end. And again, he gets access to nothing. Nothing. After there being nothing available, you may notice here on the knowledge base that the article on right to repair has been removed from their website. Unfortunately, a screenshot was not taken. He did take a PDF of it, and if there is any way for my audience to utilize archive.org or one of these other tools to try and get access to that particular page, that would be lovely. As I say on this channel very often, do not trust me. Look things up for yourself. I do not expect that you trust me simply because I provided a PDF of that particular page. If you know a way to get access to that so that you can prove for yourself that I'm not making up that page was there and then was not there, I would highly appreciate it. I like the knowledge to be able to do so. As you can see here, there's obviously this kind of idea within the company that people that are looking for compliance and right to repair are a pain in the ass, that people that are looking for access to these materials are a pain in the ass. And again, something tells me that that email was not meant to be CC'd to Ryan Labs, that was probably meant for internal use. As you can see as well, that the attempts to comply with this are, in my opinion, fairly half-assed for a company that charges 4 times as much as their competitor for a station. I have no problem with you charging almost $1,000 for a station. I have mild problems with that station being worse in both performance and in user interface than a station that costs 1/4 as much. Again, the idea that you are still using that alarm clock interface, where instead of going up and down to set temperature, I have to hold the star down, then wait 3 seconds, hit up, then hold the star down again, wait 3 seconds, and then hit up on the second digit, hold the star down again, and then hit up several times on the third digit, and then hold star down again. If it annoyed you to listen to that, can you imagine what it's like to actually do it? To charge 4 times as much as the competitor and have essentially a very similar access to manuals necessary for repair as that competitor kind of sucks. Again, to be clear, I am not a fan of the fact that I cannot get a schematic diagram for that. That does not make me happy. However, I will also consider the compromise that this thing that I cannot get a schematic or a diagram for does cost less than like 30% the cost of the other unit that is also not giving you access to the stuff and pushing back in a very similar way when it performs just about as well. This unit comes with a 1-year warranty from us, and if you purchase it from us and have an issue even a couple of months outside the warranty, even some people have been a year outside the warranty, a lot of the time we just swap the station out for free. In my opinion, as I expressed in this video, Reflections on Losing, 15 years in professional repair, I think I lost where I take accountability. I don't say we, I don't blame others, I blame myself. This is what most companies are likely going to do. They are, whether they're saying something like this is for industry and the law doesn't say for industry, so we're excluded, or you have companies that just say, well, you asked for the manuals, you didn't ask for the schematics, so here's a manual that tells you how to take the screws out of the bottom of the case, rather than the actual schematic that's necessary to do an economically viable repair. This is what I expect that you should see more of from every company. It is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it is what we get. I also believe that the end result of this is going to be repair shops being portrayed in a very bad light once repair shops are no longer economically viable to run because you do not have access to what is necessary to be able to do these types of repairs. For instance, this is a 1-star review that I received recently, and I believe this 1-star review was completely earned. In fact, I'm quite aggravated at the fact that this customer turned this 1-star review into a 5-star review because this 1-star review that I received was 100% earned as a result of the fact that we provided a very poor experience to this customer. We used to stock our parts. We used to have hundreds of screens in stock at the store for every single brand of laptop, over 6,000 brands of laptop with a cross-compatibility list. We had your LP133 WP1 TJAs, your LP154 WT1 TJA1s. We had your N156B6 LOB and your N156B3 LOBs if you had an Acer 5517, because the Acer 5517 was a crossover year model where you could have an N156B3 LOB if it was a fluorescent backlight, or an N156B6 LOB if it was a LED backlight. We had a part for everything, and because we stocked parts for everything, we could do repairs within 20 minutes. Further, since we were buying the part by itself for $30 to $72, sometimes $100 for the really expensive ones, we were able to offer you an economically viable repair. Nowadays, we can only buy used parts. The used parts are on the used market, which means the availability is always subject to change, the parts quality is always subject to change, and the part price is always subject to change. So when it takes a week or two to get a part, and it's going to take time, and it's going to be a pain in the ass, and if I try to order direct from the manufacturer, I'm going to get told through the IRP program that to order that particular part, I have to join a program where I do not get access to any of these schematics or diagrams and chips that I need, and I'm no longer to access those parts in my repair shop because I will fail an audit if I do so and be in legal trouble. We offer a really bad experience to customers on that front. And my website has been edited to tell you not to come to us for screen repairs because we suck on that front over a year ago. As a result of these repair programs coming out, consumers are going to be under the false idea that we have access to things that we do not have access to. They're going to be under the impression that we can get access to these, and the reason that we are offering these repairs with long turnarounds, with crappy parts at crappy prices, is not because the manufacturer has gone out of their way to destroy the repair ecosystem. They're going to think it's because we suck. And I'm probably going to see more of that over the next several years. And once we get to the point that I believe that we do not offer a good value to our customers on a majority of the repairs, I will admit that the manufacturer has won and I will shut down my business. That is something that I am seeing as a genuine chance of happening over the next 1 to 2 years if we genuinely cannot get access to anything that we need in order to repair these products. I will shut my business down before I become a business that offers bad service to customers that is inferior to what you can be provided by the manufacturer over a large plethora of different types of repairs. I do not want to be a crappy shop. I want to be able to end on a high note rather than a low note. Ideally, we would not have to end at all, but again, many of the things that I have discussed in this video, again, this is going to be the repair landscape for the next several years, regardless of the legislation. You are going to see more $206 batteries. You are going to see more companies explain, here's how we are exempt from this law. You are going to see more companies doing the South Park cable guy thing and doing this. It's not going to be Hacko by itself. And again, to be clear, I am not trying to single them out. I'm simply using them as an example of how these programs are going to go. You are going to request access to a program, and you are going to get something that looks like this. Bupkis. You are going to ask for access to the program again, and you are going to get access to something that looks like this. Bupkis. And then when it doesn't work, after 2 or 3 attempts, after 1 year of somebody going back and forth with them, 1 year of going back and forth with them, they are then going to delete all evidence from their website that they ever kind of supported right to repair. Like you can kind of see over here that it's added, and you can see over here that it's not. And again, like, I think Hacko's made a lot of good stuff. To be clear, in my videos over the past several years, positive review, Hacko, better deal than JBC, same performance. Over here, I'm literally telling you in my modern repair videos, I use Hacko tools in my repair shop. I like several of these Hacko tools in my repair shop. Over here, I'm telling you why you should pay extra for a Hacko tool at your repair shop. I want to be able to buy tools from companies like this. I am okay to spend more money. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to get access to this stuff, why not? buy a TS100 soldering iron, where you can plug in the same tips that you would use in a Hakko soldering iron for a fraction of the price. You're probably not going to get access to schematics and diagrams for this particular thing over here, but it does cost $80. If you're gonna not get access to a lot of this stuff anyway, in my opinion, you might as well buy the thing that's $80 rather than the equipment that is $250 to $300. Because if you're gonna get that low level of support, then it really doesn't make a difference at that point. Again, if you can buy 4 of this for the price of 1 of this, again, I would rather live in a world where I could get everything I need for both, but if I can't get what I need for this, what's the case to not buy this? Think about it. Think about it. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. And while I genuinely appreciate Chris's advocacy within the company, I really appreciate that, and I do not want to blame him for this. I highly suggest that people let Hakko Japan know that if they want to charge quadruple the price for their products, that you expect more from the repair manual section of their website than nothing. Which I think is reasonable. Not just reasonable, fair and reasonable. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you are a repair shop owner, do you think that going into the future that this business will be less viable as a result of you not being able to get access to what you need? And more importantly, do you think that you will have experiences like this where, let's just be real, these customers are 100% correct to 1-star us for the crappy experience we give customers? Do you believe that you're going to have people leave you 1-star reviews for the lower quality experience that you're able to offer your customers now versus what you were able to offer 3, 5, or 7 years ago when it was fairly simple to stock parts, it was fairly simple to buy them at affordable prices, and it was fairly simple to perform those repairs with new parts at affordable prices within 10 to 30 minutes rather than go through the dumpster diving bullshit that we do now to buy expensive parts that are used that a lot of the time just don't even work. The really sad part of all this, the part that just kills me, is the fact that not only are the manufacturers winning, but there's a good chance of the manufacturers winning and making us the bad guy. That's the part that's sad. There's one person on Reddit this morning I was responding to that was talking about how we're a bad deal and we're like lying and screwing over people and all this other stuff. And he brought up a good point. He really did. There was one point he brought up that was damn good. He was bringing up how a repair for a particular model board was $600. And one of the things that I was saying is, if you take a look on archive.org, for that particular, for most of the models, we used to offer board repair for $250. Some $325. The reason the prices have increased as much as they have is because we used to be able to purchase donor boards for $10 to $25. We used to be able to buy the chips we needed for anywhere from $2 to $20. We now have to buy a donor board that costs $300 to $400 for a single repair. A single repair, a donor board of $300 to $400. Often, several times when we've purchased these donor boards, as you know, not all boards are fixable, which means that we have a sunken cost of $300 to $400 into a repair that may not even be successful. A $5 to $10 chip, an hour of my time, fine. An hour of our time and a $400 board, that's going to affect the prices that we can bill the customer. When the customer sees that independent repair is getting more and more expensive as a result of this stuff not being available, they're not going to blame the manufacturer. They're going to blame us. And at the end of the day, if we're not good at communicating why this is, the manufacturer is going to win. And I do believe that the manufacturer is going to win. I believe at the end of the day that they're all going to win and that I'm going to lose. That kind of sucks. A little black pilling. Just a little bit black pilling. After over a decade of trying to produce free repair guides, free repair videos, advocating for this as an industry. Yeah. Ah well. See you in the next one. Lastly, today we're going to discuss this video's sponsor, Darren at Authorized.net. Authorized.net is a merchant services solutions platform, and every single time that I have had to call these people for any sort of customer support, it has been completely miserable until a few days ago. A few days ago, I called and I was lucky enough to get a gentleman named Darren on the phone. Darren knew how to solve my problem. Darren solved my problem in 10 minutes or less when that type of problem would usually take several hours. Darren was knowledgeable, kind, and polite. 99% of the time, when somebody asked to speak to a supervisor with regards to a customer service representative on the phone, it is to bitch them out, it is to complain, and it is to try to get them fired. However, nobody ever tries to speak to a supervisor when the customer service representative has done a good job. I tried to do so, and after waiting on hold for 10 or 15 minutes, Darren got back to me and said unfortunately his supervisor wouldn't be able to take this call. Because why would the supervisor be available to take a call when it's something good from a customer rather than something bad? So I told him that I would tell 2 million people that he did a good job. And after telling him this, I told him, you take this video and you show your boss that the only reason that my company is actually staying with Authorized.net is because of the quality of his particular customer service. And I told him that I was going to do this and tell 2 million people. You bring that video to your boss and you tell him that you're worth a raise, or at the very least a good mark on your record as an employee, so that if anything goes wrong in the future, they can look at this and see that other people think that you've done a damn good job. I think he probably thought I was fucking with him. I don't think he actually thought I was serious, that I had 2 million subscribers, or that I would tell all these people about him. The only reason I'm giving you his first name without his last name is because he said that they're not allowed to give a last name over the phone. So hopefully that Darren remembers that I told him in the next video that I did on this channel that I'd be giving a shout out. So hopefully Darren remembers that I told him that I would be giving him a shout out on this channel, finds this video and shows it to his boss so that he could get either a good mark on his record or a raise. When you deal with somebody who works phone customer service, it is very important to understand that they spend their entire day getting bitched out for stuff that is not their fault, for company policies that they did not make, for mistakes that somebody else made that they will never have to be responsible for, but the customer service representative does have to be responsible for. So every time you speak to a customer service representative that does a decent job, you should try to ask to speak to their supervisor to let them know what a good job they've done. And if the supervisor doesn't pick up, well, I'm lucky enough to have 2 million people I can say it to. So I hope Darren's supervisor knows that I think he did a damn good, amazing job, and that I would not be staying with Authorized.net if not for his level of customer service and assistance and knowledge. So thank you, Darren. Everybody like Darren that does these low-level jobs that are necessary to keep society running at a very high standard when your employers likely don't treat you to a very high standard. Even though you think that your job may be inconsequential, your job in doing your jobs properly not only affects the person that's calling you, but it also affects the 6 or 7 people that depend on that merchant services account working so that they can actually get paid at the end of the week. Doing your job properly is something that very few people appreciate, but I want to let you know that I appreciate it, and I hope that more people out there appreciate the jobs that are being done that may not be the most paid, that may not be the most prestigious, when those are the jobs that are necessary to allow society to continue to function. Thank you very much for the good job that you did, and as always, I hope you learned something. This here is an LG G3 OLED television that also has cat scratchers on the side. That's my way of trying to bribe my cat into not scratching my speaker. We'll see if that works. In all seriousness, this is in the menu of this television. If you go in this at any one of the default profiles and you go to
Well, a good little book came in the mail from me, from a friend of ours who watches the channel. And I want to read you this book and show you some things that are in it and teach you something about the modern Christian music industry that you must know. Don't go away. All right, guys, thank you for watching today's video. I want you to go ahead and smite down the like button, or the lizard people will get you. This is a book that a friend of ours sent us, nice little maroon hardback book. And I want to just open this up and not really tell you what this book is, but I want to read just maybe a paragraph or two from it. And I want you to just kind of see if you make an opinion about the content of this book. So let me read something here. It says, "Holy and merciful God, who answers prayer and doth not scorn the petition of the humblest of thy children, bestow upon us in our parting that spirit of affection which can resist the selfishness of the world, and cause us to remember our obligations to each other, and to thee grant that we may be permitted with loving hearts to assemble here again for thine honor, for our instruction, and for the good of our fellow men, all of which we ask in thy name's sake. Amen." So, I mean, nothing too totally weird there, is it? Maybe not. Let me read another little section of this. It says, Blessed, O Lord, we beseech thee, our humble labors in the promotion of truth and love, unity and peace. Dispel whatever spirit of discord may here arise, enrich our hearts with the most excellent gift of charity, so that our acts may be full of the spirit of kindness and forbearance one toward another. Give us strength to continue in every good work and faith to believe that we shall reap if we faint not. And at last may we enjoy the blessedness which thou hast prepared for those that love thee. Amen. Now, what is this book? What is it? Well, from what I read, it sounds very Christian, does it not? Well, I guess on the surface it would. Let me show you the cover of this book. Does that look like a Christian symbol to you? I certainly would hope not. This is a magic book. This is a book of spells. This is the ritual handbook of the Order of the Eastern Star. This is Freemasonry. Let me show you this page of the book right here. This is what this book is. This book teaches you how to conduct magic esoteric rituals and initiate people into a satanic order of magic and, occultism.
If the name doesn't ring a
but
bell,
I want you to notice as we read through those things that I showed you, it talked about the holy God, and it used Christian language. But ultimately, this is not a Christian book. This is the opposite of Christianity. This is an esoteric book. Matter of fact, I found this paragraph in it, and I just kind of went through it here. This is the beginning of the book, talks about the initiation ceremony, how you get people into this Freemasonry and stuff like that. It says, life is a labyrinth through which we would wander blindly were it not for an all-seeing eye that watches over us and an all-powerful hand that guides us on our way. That all-seeing eye, that pyramid that you see on the back of your dollar bill, that is the God of Freemasonry. That's not the God of the Bible. That's the all-seeing eye is Lucifer. It even says here, this order is founded on a belief in the existence of a supreme being that rules the universe for good, and no one can become a member of the order who does not hold this belief. And so do you believe in the existence of a supreme being? So in order to join this occultic group, you have to believe in God. Now that sounds not like a bad thing, but which God? Which God do you believe in? That's the million-dollar question. That's a question that we're going to answer here very soon for you guys. Now, I want to tell you this. You can either be a Freemason or you can be a Christian. You can't be both. You can either be a Freemason or you can be a Christian. But you cannot be a member of esoteric occultism. I mean, this whole book is just talked about rituals, how to face east and say this, and this is a book of spells. This is even shows you how to line up in the room in order to say certain things in a certain order and call upon certain spirits so that they will manifest. That's what this book is. Okay, I've got it right here in my hand. And the thing is that this stuff works. You can either be a Christian or you can be a Freemason. Now, I want to use this video as a launching pad to tell you that there is a very, very prominent Southern gospel group that, if I said their name, I think a lot of you probably would know who that is. And I just found out this week that they're all Freemasons. And I will share, they're saying, we worship you, O Lord. They are saying things like, thy grace is amazing. They're saying things like, oh, how I love the Lord. But they're not speaking about the God of the Bible. They're speaking about this Lord. You do know in Ephesians 2, the Bible refers to Satan as the God of this world. And so just because you do know in Ephesians 2, the Bible refers to Satan as the God of this Lord. You do know in Ephesians 2, the Bible refers to Satan as the God of this world. And so just because somebody gets up and says, I love you, God, does not mean that they're talking about the same God that you worship, Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. They're playing a game. They're playing a word game with you, making merchandise of you. They're speaking great swelling words in the name of Jesus. And they've got a lot of people fooled. Well, they don't have me fooled. I'm going to out you guys. Be ready next week. We're going to make this available for everybody. Somebody's in big trouble. And we're going to try to show you guys the truth about all that. Guys, we've got these little these little business cards, not 3x5 cards, these little business cards that we have been using about Go Watch Third Adam on them. And we're going to try to make some of these available here in time. I just got to get somebody to help me organize all this stuff. But make these, I carry these around with a QR code on the back for our Third Adam series. Please go watch that. It'll really help you understand the game of occultism, of New Age religion, and the game that's being played in the local church to help you guys understand the truth of the matter, that there is a big con being done right now, and you need to know about it. Smite your like button on this video, subscribe to this channel, be ready for next week. We're going to talk about this, and God bless you. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you later.
There was a day where I was sitting at my desk and I was studying the false religions of the world, and it all just clicked. The Lord revealed things to me that I just had to get out, and I dedicated a large portion of my time to this. We put documentaries together trying to explain to you this grand illusion that was materializing right before my very eyes. We told you, and we told you it was coming. And the reaction was mixed. Some people said this was the greatest thing they'd ever seen. Some people said that I was just another Pharisee, just another false teacher. We'll let the Lord decide. But we've tried to tell you every angle of this that we knew, and we've tried to reveal it to you. This is so wicked that even the Apostle John, when he saw it, he marveled and wondered. So what more is there for me to do? The only thing I can tell you now, stop everything you're doing and go watch Third Adam. Your very soul may be at stake.
There's always security at the studio, so figure out how to get on set without attracting too much.
can't be here. It's restricted.
The first Adam fell in the garden of God. His sin was the causation. The last Adam wept in the garden of man, so we could have salvation. Many believe that's the end of the road, that there's no more to this summation. But the third Adam is here to now do a work and to bring the world damnation.
I've wrestled with certain questions in recent history. How do you tell people that there is a great evil coming, and it's something that appears to be so innocent?
If your energy body is balanced and fully activated, there can be no physical or psychological ailment in you. It's simply not possible.
And how do you deal with it in such a way that you don't come across as a crazy man?
Okay, so what you're saying is essentially that they're using psychedelic drugs to communicate with interdimensional beings. All right.
Yeah, spirit guides.
Okay.
And how do you deal with it when even churches are practicing it?
And this is the friend that had passed away. You're out in the universe somewhere. Yeah. I mean, way out on the edge of eternity.
These are the questions we've wrestled with in recent history.
Have you personally had any experience with interdimensional beings?
Well, because it's all taboo and people...
Well, let me tell you, I have.
And I'm going to give you what I believe is the truth. This evil is coming, and I see it everywhere. And I'm praying that God will use this video to awaken you to righteousness and help you to realize that we are in the last times. Many are saying that this is coming, but I'm here to tell you that this is already here. So what is this video all about? What am I trying to say? If I could sum up this video in one statement, it would be that the Antichrist is coming and the stage has already been set for his appearance.
The Kundalini can be awakened by the touch of the Guru, by simply the Guru touching the Muladhara chakra or the root chakra or the base chakra. He can raise the Kundalini through the spinal column.
All levels of society have been infiltrated by this dark religion.
You will feel increased energy on your forehead.
The stage has been beautifully set for him. And the only thing left now is for him to just simply step out on the scene.
I don't think he can get up. Come here. That anointing is all over him. It's all over you, brother.
In this video, I will explain to you how all of it will come to pass and has come to pass. And it's time that you realize that. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate to you is my theory of how I believe Satan is going to bring about his Antichrist in the last days. I want to show you a pyramid. And at the bottom, I want to put Satan. At the top, I want to put what I would call his third Adam, his Antichrist, his world leader. And Satan is not just going to come out directly and show you who he is and who his man is. Satan never has operated that way. And so I want to provide to you layers of his attack and how he's going to bring about this Antichrist. The first layer will be Eastern religions, yoga and Hindu and Buddhism. The next layer will be the modern occult, and we will explain what that is. The next layer will be modern entertainment and its ties to Eastern religions and occultism. And then the next layer after that will be false Christianity. Satan will always work behind these layers. And we're going to take a few moments in this video to break down each one of these layers and directly connect it to Satan. Now let's begin this explanation with the most obvious layer, Satan himself. Many great military leaders of the past have always said that if you're going to win a war, you need to understand your enemy and understand his tactics. And I fear that the modern church today simply does not understand our enemy. We don't understand his tactics. We don't understand how he thinks. We don't understand what he's trying to do. And so many times the church gets blindsided by our adversary. The two main tactics of Satan always have been and always will be imitation and infiltration of everything that God has and God does. Satan is always looking to imitate the Lord Jesus. The Bible says in Isaiah 14, verse 13 and 14, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." Everything that God gives to man, Satan always imitates it. God gives his comforter to man. Satan gives his false spirit to man too. God gives salvation to man. Satan will give a salvation-like experience to man as well. God gives man a savior. Satan will send a savior in his time as well. Everything that God does, Satan will imitate. Another tactic of Satan is infiltration. Acts 20, verse 29 says this, "For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock." Every time God does something, Satan tries to infiltrate it and tries to destroy it from the inside. Examples of that through the scripture are the Garden of Eden, where he met with Adam and Eve. The nation of Israel, Satan worked many times in that group of people. With the disciples even, there was Judas Iscariot. And even in the New Testament church, Satan is always looking to infiltrate and try to destroy the church, not from without, but from within. This has always been his tactic, and it always will be. The difficulty in understanding this aspect of the deception is that you have to be a discerning Christian, which means that you have to know the Bible and you have to understand Satan's plan of imitation and infiltration. The average Christian today has been taught that the worst sin they could ever commit is not murder, it's not adultery, it's judging. Anytime a guy like me posts videos on YouTube saying something negative about a false teacher, it's almost like bombs over Berlin with judge nots coming from liberal evangelical people who could not tell you 5 verses in the Bible to save their life. To them, the worst thing you could ever do is say something negative about another Christian, another ministry, or anybody else alive for that matter. After all, Jesus never did say anything unkind or negative about anybody ever in his earthly ministry. And he certainly never did act angry or have any form of righteous indignation ever in his earthly ministry, did he? The problem with the judge not mentality of modern Christianity is that it basically puts a blindfold around these people's mind. And so they walk around with these cheesy smiles on saying, judge not, and just love everybody. And really, they sound more like Mahatma Gandhi than they do Jesus Christ. So if a person was actually looking for Satan on the planet today, the truth is, you don't really have to go to the White House or to the jailhouse. If you want to find him, you can most likely find him in something that looks like a church house. Satan spends far more time dealing with men's beliefs and religion than he does with beer and rum. Now, don't get me wrong, Satan spends plenty of time in astrology and biology and neurology and psychology, but he does his greatest and most destructive work when he's hijacking the terminology of orthodoxy and creating a false theology.
Okay, so Eastern religions is a very interesting study. There's so much to take in, and I think a lot of the Westerners of the world really don't study because there's just so much to process. So I'm going to try to break it down to you as simple as I possibly can and explain to you in this video what Eastern religions actually are. Basically, there's four big ones. Okay, you've got Buddhism, you've got Hinduism, you've got Islam, and you've got Judaism. I want to go through and explain the Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam to our audience here. Explain to you what these people are. Now, Buddhism is a religion that basically believes that you can achieve enlightenment, and you can do that through consciousness and through meditation. You can do yoga practices. One of the big things right now is yoga, and as you can see there's the chakras on the screen, and the chakras are basically energy points in your body that start in the base of your spine and go up to the top of your head, and you can actually release the universe's energy that you have, which is called a serpent spirit. They actually call that in the literature, they call it a serpent spirit, can be released from your pelvis all the way up through, and you see the 7 chakras there, the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, throat, third eye, and the crown. And once the spirit is released, it's actually called the Kundalini spirit, is released from your spine all the way up goes through your crown. Then you have something called a Kundalini awakening, and then you have something, manifestations called kriyas, and where people, they shake violently, or they have manifestations of euphoria, and they just love everybody. It is a very interesting religion. It's demonic is what it is. And basically Buddhism, from a Bible-believing Christian standpoint, we understand that Buddhism is a long progression, it's a progress of demon possession. When you're doing yoga practices, you're actually making your body like some sort of antenna, a spiritual antenna, where you're actually allowing the full possession of dark satanic serpent spirit called Kundalini to take over your body. Now, Hinduism is a very interesting religion, very complex religion, and there's so many different, literally there's hundreds of gods in Hinduism. But the main 5 are Shiva, Rama, Ganesha, Vishnu, and Krishna. And you can see them all right there. And as you can tell, this is not a simple religion. There's no way in a video that I can explain to you what these guys are. But basically, they have it's multiple gods manifesting themselves in multiple different ways, and so therefore you have hundreds of deities. And these deities are actually called avatars, which is what James Cameron, when he made that movie Avatar, that was the concept he got behind it. It's like, I'm possessing a body and I'm using it for my purpose, and that's where they got that from. Was from the Hindu concept of these gods taking certain forms, possessing certain bodies, and doing certain things. Okay, so and then also you got Islam, and Islam is, I believe, the number 2 religion in the world.
Literally billions of people hold to this religion. It's a picture of their holy site, the main holy site that they have called Mecca, and the 5 pillars, if you will, 5 main practices of Islam. You got to have your profession, which is your shahada. You got to pray 5 times a day, which is your salat. You got to give alms to the poor, which is zakat. You got to do fasting, which is solemn. And then also you got to have a pilgrimage to Mecca once in your life, which is your Hajj. 4 major religions. You got Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and then you have Judaism. Okay, so the thing is, what's called the guided one, who, according to some Islamic traditions, will appear and rid the world of evil. And so they're looking for this Mahdi. There's a symbol right there. And then also the Hindu world is looking for a coming leader, and he's called the Kalki, which will be the 10th avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and will end the Kali Yuga, which is the age that we live in now, and will bring in another Yuga, which is a period where there will be no more sin. And so, matter of fact, if you notice here that the Hindu Kalki, the 10th avatar of Vishnu, the coming leader, the coming world leader, is actually someone who rides a white horse. Does any of that sound familiar to Bible-believing Christians?
Okay, so let me explain to you how Satanism and the occult works. It's really not that hard, but I want to explain it to you here in this video. God gave the ultimatum to mankind in the Garden of Eden, saying, you know, if you eat of that tree, thou shalt surely die. It's a 100% done deal. It is an ultimatum. These are the consequences to the rules. Well, Satan comes along and he says total opposite. You shall not surely die. He gives them complete opposite of what God says. Well, you have 2 opposite ideas here, and there's no way to reconcile the 2. It's either one or the other. And so what Satan does is he tempts Eve with hidden knowledge and with freedom from those rules over there. There's a whole other world of knowledge out there that you can have opened up to you if you'll just disobey that. It's definitely not worship God, and it's not worship Satan. So the occult basically is summed up in this: do as thou wilt. Do whatever you want. That was Satan's plan for Eve, and that's what he said. Just do what you want to do. And listen, Satan doesn't care if you worship him or whatever. He just is concerned that you're not obeying God and serving God. So really, just do what you want to do. And if you do what you want to do, ultimately you're doing what he wants you to do.
In America, Satanism is sensationalized and kind of misunderstood, and people associate it with worshiping the devil and things like that. But it's really a philosophy about individuality and self-preservation. It's about being your own God.
Okay, so the occult is very difficult to see because it takes on different names, and it's gone through several different name changes through the years. It has several different leaders and that kind of stuff. But the common ideas have basically been the same throughout the centuries. Now, one of the big names was Helena Blavatsky. She came along and was, I think, one of the better people at articulating what this actually is. And what she taught is that you got the philosophy of the world, you got Christianity, you got Islam, you got Hinduism, you got Buddhism, you got Judaism, and that truth is found in all of these religions, and there's not one exclusively that's correct. They're all right, but the thing is that it's like there's chunks in each of them that are correct, and so we're going to just find those chunks. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these pieces that we find where truth exists, and we're going to take all of that and merge that all together, and we're going to call it this. And this was the name that she gave it. She called it Theosophy. which was a merger of theology and philosophy. This is what the occult is. It's the grand merger of truth and error of Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism with the philosophies of the world. And they've been doing that forever, and that's what they're doing now.
But by no means is that the only idea that I associate myself with, because I incorporate a lot of different philosophies into what I'm about, including Christianity. There's a lot of valuable lessons to be learned from the Bible. I just feel that the way a lot of people interpret it, particularly in the USA, is very hypocritical. And that's what I try and open people's mind to, that there is different ways of looking at things rather than what we've been told over the past several hundred years.
The most famous occult symbol right now is that bumper sticker that you see quite often, but you probably don't realize what it is, but that is the occult. It's the merger of everything. Okay, so in the world of the Theosophants, you try to take bits and pieces of all religions and merge them together. Well, how do you discern all that? How do you navigate which to take, which not to take? Well, what they believed is that there was a higher power who could tell you all that and teach you how to decipher between the two, and these were called the Ascended Masters. They said these were real entities who really existed. And so you have people here on planet Earth who need the knowledge that the Ascended Masters can give you. And there were many ways to get this knowledge, but the main way that they did that was something called an astral projection. And an astral projection is called an out-of-body experience by most people. Mainly what they do is through meditation or something like that. These people actually, they believe that their soul can leave their body and they can travel across the universe and meet face to face with these Ascended Masters. And gain that knowledge.